Hello. Thank you. Perfect. No. So how do I change it? Okay, great. Hi everyone, I'm Melody. It's such a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for having me. So, Harvard Business Review recently talked about how do you answer the question of tell me about yourself when you're in a job interview. I think most of us are inclined to start talking about our first jobs. According to Harvard Business Review, you should start a little bit sooner than that. So that's where I'm going to start with you today. That's me as a 10-year-old. And as you'll learn about my business, you'll see that who I was at 10 is probably the biggest determining factor of what I'm doing today. As a child, the things that thrilled me the most all had to do with creativity. I was a musician, I was a singer, I was an artist. Everything I touched was creative, and I was incredibly happy in each of my endeavors. But I was also very competitive. And when I had the ladder in front of me, I climbed it. So I started at Harvard Westlake, one of Los Angeles' best high schools. I went on to USC, where I double majored. I studied abroad in Milan. I did everything you were supposed to do to climb the ladder, and I ended up going to law school and getting a job at one of Los Angeles' top firms. If you look at my slide, along the way, it's a downward slope. It wasn't that I wasn't successful, I was, but I wasn't fulfilled. I was completely disconnected from the things that had defined me for the first 15 years of my life, which was creativity. So after a year of litigation, I made a very hard choice, and I stepped away from that perfect career to figure out what I was actually meant to be doing. I remember countless nights in the surrounded by paper as I was doing legal research or writing motions, and I literally felt like my soul was hovering above my body, looking down at me and thinking, God, I am so sorry for you. So I didn't want to be sorry for myself, so I left. I left the perfect job, and everyone was shocked, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to take some time and connect with myself. And I did that by writing my first book. So I was lucky. The timing of my departure coincided with NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. If any of you aspire to writing a book, I highly suggest you look into NaNoWriMo. Every November, people around the country, hundreds of thousands of them, get together and decide to write a book in 30 days. Sounds a little crazy, but once you put your mind to it, it's amazing how your creativity starts to flow. So in 30 days, I had a 50,000-word book, and I spent the next 6 months editing it and eventually published my book, Hollywood Talent, CIA Managed, the Agency. From there, my creativity was open. I started writing not just for myself, but for the people around me who were busy starting their own businesses. I thought, if all these people around me are transforming their passions into businesses and careers they love, can I do the same? So I took a leap. I started a website. I called it Write in Color. It started as a free WordPress blog. Aside from that, the only other thing I did to promote myself was start a Yelp page. And I started telling people, do you need a writer? I'm a writer. I can write for you. And that's really how the business and career of my dreams took shape. So after starting Write in Color, within the first few months, I was nominated by Write to Done, which is a leading website for writers, as one of the top writing blogs on the web. Every day I would write blog posts about my creative inspiration, about writing tips, about what inspired me. And you know what? By being authentic to my passions, I inspired others. Within a very short period of time, I had had millions of views on my site, a little blog. And from there, I just started expanding my services. What started as ghostwriting and copywriting for businesses turned into resume writing for professionals, because at the end of the day, the resume is the personal brand. Businesses aren't the only ones that need to be branded. Every single one of us needs to take control over how we value ourselves and present ourselves to the world. And I've been so fortunate that through my resume service, I've connected with people around the country at every level and empowered them to speak confidently about who they are, not just on the page, but also once they're in an interview setting. Again, by honoring my own passion for communication and creativity, I've helped others. And as they said in my intro, I'm now the top resume service on Yelp. No formal training, nothing that technically qualified me to do this job other than an intrinsic passion for people and creativity. So Write in Color has really grown over the years. I no longer have a free WordPress blog. I actually have a website, and we've expanded the business to offer design services to clients. There's nothing more rewarding than getting to know someone and taking their dream and making it into a tangible reality, whether it be through a logo, a tagline, or a full-blown website. A big part these days of your brand is how you present yourself to the world, and we're so empowered by social media. I am very active on Instagram, and it's a very great vehicle for me to present my brand to the world. Now, as you'll see from the pictures, two of the pictures are of Stella and Violet, my kids. I think a lot of people are nervous about the line between personal and public, and what I'm here to say is embrace who you are fully and channel that to the world. That doesn't mean you share every detail, but when people connect with brands, they're not just connecting with a tagline or a slogan. They really want to know the heart and soul of who you are. And so I do that by sharing things that inspire me, whether it's my kids or the latest picture I found with a rainbow, because rainbows seem to define my brand and really resonate with people. I wanted to show you some examples of how we've been able to get to know clients and transform their vision. So we've done everything from ghostwriting a book about obesity for a doctor whose passion it was to write, to collaborating with clients to do packaging, websites, and beyond. But I think what would be most interesting for everyone here is the resume service. I'm not sure if you can see it, but on the right, I have a picture of a resume that was sent to me right here. It was 4 pages in paragraph form, and this woman was having a very, very hard time getting a job. We live in a time where attention spans have never been shorter, so it's our job to present ourselves in a compelling way that'll get an employer through the page. So after interviewing her and getting to know her, we were able to give her a 1-page resume that was modern, fresh, and really presented her in the strongest light. So I want to empower each of you with a few tips for how to improve your resume and give it an instant resume revamp. The first thing you can do is avoid the fluff. Anything on your resume that someone else could write, don't put it. Don't have a generic section of skills. Don't have a generic objective. Dive right into the details that are unique to you and present that content in a concrete way that's tied to accomplishments. What value did you bring to past employers? Did you increase revenue? How much? Did you save money? How much? Did you work with a lot of clients? How many? Be as specific as possible. And also think about the problem that the potential employer you're applying to might have. How can you solve it? Research that employer and give them a resume that presents you as the solution. Another thing you should think about is balancing design and content. I think a lot of people assume that a resume needs to be boring or Times New Roman, black and white, and that's a pitfall. I think when I tell people I design resumes, they automatically get nervous that that means rainbows and butterflies and perfume paper. That's not the case at all. There is a really delicate balance between using a pop of color and a modern font like Helvetica to show a potential employer that you're not like everyone else who's applying. Of course, balancing design and content is important, but you should also remember that these days, recruiters and employers really only want to see a 1-page resume. That's because it's your job to tailor your message, to be concise, to show them that you can describe your value without needing 5 pages to do it. And even if you have a 30 or 40-year career, you can accomplish it. You just need to be strategic about the job that you're applying for and tailor your resume to that position. The last point I want to bring up is tech skills. We live in a tech-savvy world. Let your employer know that you know how to use a computer, and let them know exactly which programs you know how to use. Whether you're applying for a tech job or not, it's going to be a valuable asset because every employer is looking to see that you know how to be competitive in this job market. So how do you build your personal brand? There are 6 important points I wanted to leave you with that you can start implementing today to first identify your brand and also start sharing it with the world. The first point is to know your worth. As women, we tend to undervalue ourselves and to shy away from opportunities. I have firsthand primary research. I've worked with hundreds of women and hundreds of men, and the norm is that women tend to shy away from positions they feel they aren't qualified for, and men go for it. They are not afraid. They just say, get me in the interview, I will sell myself. So take stock of your accomplishments. Even if you're not applying for a job today, challenge yourself to write a resume so that you can get to know yourself better, know your values, know your accomplishments, and you'll be that much more prepared to share yourself with the world once you do. The next point is you should set goals. I've accomplished a lot, but to be honest, there have been times where I haven't really realized how much I've accomplished because I wasn't trying to get somewhere. Think of a goal as a dock. Imagine you're a ship at sea. You may run into a port, but if it wasn't your goal, will you really feel like you reached your destination? You should set goals, and they shouldn't necessarily only be long-term ones. Set weekly, monthly, and annual goals so that you understand where you're going and really feel a sense of accomplishments that comes with getting there. The next point is just say yes. I recently launched a campaign through my social media called 100 Days of Yes. I did this because I realized in my own life that saying no is a lot easier. Whether it's doing something outside of your normal routine or trying a new opportunity to connect with friends, doesn't matter what it is. Say yes and doors will start opening for you. Pay attention to your life. Think about the areas that you're saying no and just change your default answer. The world around you will change. And if you decide to take part in this, I highly urge you to connect with me. Use the hashtag 100 Days of Yes, and I'll cheer you on. I'm watching for you so that I can celebrate your yeses. The next point is to communicate. I want each and every one of you to start telling people what you want. Tell the universe, identify it. What are you looking for? What's the opportunity you're looking for? Communicate with people about who you are, what you do. I started my business without spending $1 on advertising. To this day, I've never advertised. I communicate. I tell people what my business is about, what my services are, because I know people need them. You can do this in person. You can do it at networking events like this one. You can do it on your social media. Next point I want to bring up is control your identity. We live in a world where everyone is on Google, whether you want to be or not. When someone types in your name, which is what most employers will do the minute you apply, you're going to have results. It's your job to be in charge of those results. There are 2 points that come with this. One, be savvy about what you post online. Know that even if you have every privacy feature set, there is no privacy online. So think that anything you post is going to be seen by the entire world forever. But also think about what can you put online to start defining your personal brand. It could be in the form of a LinkedIn profile, or it can be in the form of a free blog where you share your ideas and really start taking control of your search results. If you type my name in now, you'll get thousands of results because of all the blog posts I've written. You can do the same, and there's no expense to it. You just have to start taking control of the message. Another way to do it, social media. I'm on every social media platform. I urge you to follow me. This is my attempt to communicate and connect with you. And if you do want insight or guidance, whether it be for your resume or for any other personal branding initiative, think of me as a resource. I'm available to you as a friend, as a confidant, and as someone who's really been through it. I was able to transform my identity from an attorney to a creative, and I want to help you do the same, whatever your passion may be. Which leads me to my last point. Give, give, give. Being that I'm in a service industry, I've learned that what defines a person is their willingness to give. For everyone you interact with, do what you can to help them. Go above and beyond. Go the extra mile. Your employer will notice, your friends will notice, your friends and family will notice, the world will notice. Give as much as you can, and I'm sure you will get it back in return. Thank you so much. I'd like to open it up to questions. Sure. Sorry?
When did you have your children and how hard was it?
Sure. So I have twins, Stella and Violet. They're 20 months old, so they're not even 2. This goes back to the theory of just say yes. I was very nervous to have children. I had just started my business. It was a very volatile time, and I kept thinking, I'm not ready. There's no way I could do this. And I just went for it because I figured I'm never going to be ready. And the truth of the matter is, since they've been born, my business has tripled. And it's because I've become a better manager of my own time. I have more of an incentive to succeed. And I've learned to start delegating and growing my team so that my business can grow in a way that I really couldn't do when I was just on my own. So I think the key to being a good parent is to develop a good tribe. Whether it's your parents or your siblings or a nanny or whatever you can do to create a network of people, I think it's very hard to raise kids on your own. I think it's a lot easier for them and for you when you have a team of people helping you. Sure.
What advice would you give someone who has negative information out and made some mistake in that stupid thing, on Facebook when they were 18? Now they're 30 and they're 20. What advice would you give them for handling it media-wise and on the rest?
This has actually come up. I've had people who have had really negative search results and they don't know what to do about it. The best thing you can do is start populating your own content to hide it. So when you create a LinkedIn page or a blog that has your name in the title, those things will always come up first. So regardless of everything else on the web, if you were to start a blog with your name and write blog posts every day, those would start populating the immediate search results. And at the end of the day, no one's going to go back 6 or 7 pages. They just don't have the attention span. So that would be my advice, is take control and start creating your own content. Sure.
There's a service I've used, it's free, it's called Brand Yourself, and I've actually used it, and you tell it what links you would like to populate at the top of Google results. I put my LinkedIn, I put my blog, I put my business, and it actually bumped down things from my past when I was younger, and nothing too bad, but I do brand strategy now, so businesses I was in before might not jive with that necessarily. So yeah, brandyourself.com, or it's brand yourself, just Google that, and they'll give you tips on how to boost your rankings up and get rid of things you don't want. And if you share a common name with someone and they do crazy things, you can help identify. You tell this company, they tell Google, this page is me, this person is a different Aubrey, so.
Do you mind if I interject?
Sure.
The only other Suzanne Watley on the internet, S-U-S-A-N-N-E, I was dismayed to discover was a sex line phone operator. So then went on to have a big dispute over proprietorship of the sex.com website. So you never know who shares your name.
Kelsey.
I have a question and a tip. A tip, first of all, is if there's something negative about you on the internet, try contacting the person that maintains that information. I had my wedding photo shared online by my photographer, and I wasn't upset about it, but it felt private to me.
The good thing about my business is there are no expenses, and I would say start lean, whatever you want to do. I was working from home for the first 2 years. It did take about a year and a half before I started earning a real income, and even that, it's taken me a long time to get back to my lawyer salary. So you have to make compromises, and I've just changed my lifestyle in order to be able to grow the business. But I would say you can, at least I'd say 2 years until you reach a level where you feel like you're matching your salary that you were getting and you're comfortable. But keep in mind, I went from working 80 hours a week to now working 35 or 40. So now I'm able to be with my kids and make a comparable salary by working half as much. So there are, if you are able to make the transition, in the long run, being your own boss, I think definitely has a lot of value. Sure. Absolutely. It's called NaNoWriMo. It's an abbreviation for National Novel Writing Month. So NaNoWriMo.org. And it takes place every November.
And what follow-up? Is it only for novel writers or non-fiction writers as well?
You know, it says technically that it's for novels, but to be honest, it's more of a support group than anything else. They send you daily emails, there are meetups, and it's a very good kind of motivation, so you could write whatever you want. Yeah, and a lot of books have gone on to be bestsellers. I think they made a movie about one recently, I'll think of the name. But yeah, if you go to the website, you'll see. It's a great kind of launching pad. Sure. Sure, it's NaNoWriMo, NaNoWriMo.org. Yes?
What is your novel about?
So my novel is fiction. It's about a woman who runs a talent agency, but is actually an undercover CIA agent. And what she does is she manipulates her clients to create entertainment scandals that distract us from politics. So it's all about the intersection between gossip media and mainstream media. And I actually did a lot of research on historical events from the past 50 or 60 years where there was a political event and an entertainment event that coincided. So once you start looking at those, which I included in the book, you start realizing maybe there's something to this. So it's really fun. It's on Amazon. It's on iTunes, Nook. If you want to read it, I would love it. So, sure. I think the best thing to do, first of all, is to advise those girls that a career search shouldn't start in college or after college. As soon as you're in high school, you should go out and seek internships, find mentors, even if you're doing part-time work, whatever you can do to start exploring the things that you're passionate about and learning about careers that are outside of the norm, whether it be lawyer or doctor or accountant. There are a lot of new jobs out there, and I don't think the younger generation is as exposed to these new opportunities. So that would be the first step. And when it comes to putting that on a resume, even if you have no experience, you can still speak to the specific things that you did within the classroom. Were there projects that you excelled at? Were there classes that you took a leadership position in? Did you have extracurricular activities? Being as detailed and concrete as possible in a way that reflects the skills that you developed while you were in those roles. So again, whether you've had 30 years of experience or 5 or 0, tying your accomplishments to specific examples. So if you want to say you're a good communicator, you tie that to learned excellent communication skills in science lab while leading team of 4 to complete projects. Then all of a sudden you create an association in the reader's mind between a skill and a concrete task so they can understand the value. And for those girls, feel free to have them email me. If they have something, I'm happy to look at it. Sure.
Are there resume killer words that people mistakenly put on their resumes?
I try to avoid any hard and fast rules. I think generic terms are always bad, but even those generic terms, if tied to something that's marketable, isn't a killer. I know there are always articles that say don't use these 10 words or definitely use these 10 words, but I think every individual is unique, and that's what is different about my approach. I don't use a template. I don't have yes words or no words. I get to know the person and help them understand their greatest value and then put it on paper. So I think it's a little bit dangerous to limit yourself in any way. Sure.
I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about any fears that you had to overcome when you were considering leaving the law firm and jumping to something that was so radically different from
Yeah.
what you were doing. Because I think that for a lot of women, that fear factor can sometimes keep us from doing things that we would like to do, but the fear keeps us from jumping.
I'll tell you, I don't.
Repeat the question.
Sure, the question is, were there any fears I had to overcome to leave my job as an attorney and start something that was so radically different? The truth is, I had been thinking before I left for a long time about what can I do outside of law? And my dad, who's an entrepreneur, kept pushing these ideas like, oh, you should get water bottles from China and sell them. And I would do, market research and put together a whole business plan, and I would be terrified, like physically terrified, because it didn't connect with me. And I think the reason I was able to start Write in Color and wasn't able to start any of those other businesses, even though I had support and resources and help, was because they weren't true to me, and the skills I needed to make those businesses happen weren't within my arsenal. I think when you get to know yourself and really learn what your skills are, making the leap becomes a lot easier. And so it's more about identifying the right position and path for yourself than it is just taking a leap. I think it's incredibly important to connect with what you actually are good at and what you actually enjoy doing. And even if you don't make the leap like I did, one day do law and next day do something else, start doing it on your off time. Whether you may have to work longer hours, but nights and weekends afford you plenty of time to start exploring. And once you have that confidence in your abilities, then you can take the next step. Sure.
Also, if I may add, I made the same leap after practicing law for about 6 or 7 years at a site. It's just not for me. But one of the things that really helped get over the fear was that I followed my passion. I was just driven to do this other thing. So fear or no fear, fear was secondary to the fact that I had to do this other thing. So get in touch with
Yeah.
what you would do if you were 10, or what you would do if no one paid you to do it, and the fear will become irrelevant.
Yeah.
You'll be driven to do it.
Yeah, I think it's really, like everyone's been saying, it's finding that passion and honoring it. I never leave work unhappy. And sometimes I'll be up at 4 a.m. with the kids and then have to do a full day at work, come home, get them to bed, bathe them, do the whole 9 yards, and it's 9 o'clock before I get to sit down. And I'm still happy, which is the greatest gift I think I gave myself, because if I were in a career right now that I didn't enjoy, I think I'd be a terrible mother. So I feel very lucky that I was able to make that shift.
You mentioned that you try to have a tribe of resources and support. For those who may feel like you don't have a tribe or support, what resources do you recommend that they can look to?
Facebook, believe it or not, has a lot of amazing groups. I'm part of 2 mommy groups because the tribe I need right now are other mothers. And a lot of the people in my peer group don't have kids yet. So I found these groups, and on a daily basis, I feel like I have support. I have people to talk to. I have people to meet up with if I need to. And there are amazing groups for whatever your interests are. So believe it or not, you can look online, and there are also websites that pertain to your interests. You can go on meetup.com, and there are meetups all around the city that relate to different interests. So even if you don't technically have a core group that maybe you've inherited from childhood, you can find people who share your interests and start meeting up with them. Sure.
Have you worked with company or do you know of others that work with people who are fine in their job but want to sort of like an online store, or they want to the creative side? I know there's Etsy, but if someone who wants to have their own website, is that something that
Yeah, absolutely.
give examples of folks that you work with?
Sure, we just launched one for a company called Femme Fatale. It's a performance group and they wanted to sell things online. We did that through Shopify. So I would suggest that you look at Shopify. They make it incredibly easy. You can go on there, they'll host a shop for you, they take care of all the taxes, and then you just have to handle the shipping. But it's like an Etsy, but you have much more control and it's your own site. So you don't have to be, mixed in with a lot of other people. So I would say go to Shopify is a great place to start for a shop. There's also Big Cartel is another site that will allow you to have a personalized URL with your own shop. It's much less expensive than having someone program one for scratch for you. Anyone else? Okay, well, yeah?
I just wanted to mention a resource. It's called Strength Finders 2.0. Are you familiar?
No.
Strength Finder 2.0 is just a fabulous book. It's by Tom Rath, and it's a fabulous way to get in touch with what your strengths are.
She's saying Strength Finder 2.0. It's a book by Tom Rath. Sure. There's another called Wishcraft.
And it takes you through a series of exercises to help you. One of them is, as a child, think about the people around you, what they would say about you today. It's really a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, it's been such a pleasure. You guys have my contact info somewhere, but feel free to email me if you have questions or if I can help in any way. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, why don't you tell us your website again?
Sure. The website is Write, W-R-I-T-E, in color. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think we've picked up a lot of great information from our speakers today, and also from